Donald Trump's cognitive and physical health has utterly collapsed, and Iran is calling it out during the final moments of these purported negotiations with Iran. Iran has clinically diagnosed Donald Trump as being mentally ill. That's right. Exclusive reporting over at Dropsite from Jemry Saghil, who's got really good sourcing within Iran, states that the Iranian regime at the highest level brought together a group of clinical psychologists and psychiatrists, the top mental health professionals in Iran. And over the past 60 or so days, they've been working with the Iran negotiators, helping guide them after diagnosing Donald Trump as clinically insane and as fully mentally ill and compromised. And so they believe they're not negotiating with anyone of sound mind. I'll tell you what the reporting suggests. Iran negotiators enlist a team of psychologists and psychiatrists to tailor diplomatic communications to a mentally incapacitated and legitimately ill individual. That's how the Iranian regime at the highest level is describing it. So Iranian negotiators who have been involved in these discussions brought in a group of senior psychologists and psychiatrists into the diplomatic team based on their assessment of Donald Trump, according to this investigative journalist Jeremy Scahill over at Dropsite. He cites numerous Iranian sources who state that they believe that Donald Trump was someone who was, again, physically, cognitively impaired, that they would have to cater messages to somebody in his mental state and mental condition. They had to treat him essentially as a patient during the negotiations and engaged in what they refer to as, quote, clinical diplomacy, because it was as if they were dealing with somebody in a mental ward. And again, this comes at a time where it's his 80th birthday tonight. He seems to be exhibiting a lot of these signs that people noticed of his dad, Fred, who had rapidly deteriorating Alzheimer's, which eventually killed him and he died from it. But Fred was known to just wither away super quickly, and people are seeing in Donald Trump very similar behaviors. Raw Story also picked this up. Iran takes eyebrow-raising step believing that Donald Trump is legitimately mentally ill. It should also be noted that about 45 days ago or so, an Iranian psychology body also sent an open letter in Tehran regarding their view that Donald Trump's malignant narcissism was a threat to the Middle East and a threat to the world. Now, when you see Donald Trump's behavior recently, just even over the past 24 hours, including threatening to bomb Iran with nuclear weapons, even as we believe we're about to have a deal, even as we believe that was about to happen, I think proves the thesis correct of Iran about Donald Trump's behavior. I mean, just think about the last 24 hours, right? Donald Trump was so panicked and embarrassed that and malignant narcissist, that his name was getting removed from the Kennedy Center, that there's gigantic tarp over the John F. Kennedy Center right now because Trump's name vandalizing it was removed. I mean, that's some real sick behavior right there. But go to the post that he did yesterday morning. Again, he makes this post while there's the Prime Minister Sharif of Pakistan. We're hearing positive messages coming out of Qatar. We're hearing positive messages out of the United Arab Emirates, positive messages out of Saudi Arabia. The first time we're seeing collective positive messages that we may actually be getting a deal, which would be great. Foreign Minister Araghchi of Iran is suggesting we're moving closer to a deal. And the Iran hardliners are really going after Araghchi and trying to throw him and MB Ghalibaf, the parliament leader, under the bus for doing this deal. So this is very tenuous stuff, right? Like, this is something that needs to be held together. And what does Donald Trump do? Donald Trump posts the following. Barack Hussein Obama's deal with Iran, the JCPOA, was an easy, beautiful, smooth road to a nuclear weapon, which Iran would have had 6 years ago and would have used long before now. My agreement with Iran's the exact opposite. A wall to no nuclear weapon. In fact, they no longer want a nuclear weapon, nor will they have one, either through the purchase, development, or any other form of procurement. The deal is scheduled to get signed tomorrow, and immediately after it is signed, the Hormuz Strait is open to all. Just pause there for a second, though. I'll get back to that, but that's not what Iran said at all. That, in fact, Iran says that Donald Trump's behavior is incredibly odd, that he needs this thing to be signed on his birthday. As the Fars news agency, which is one of Iran's state news agencies, reports, Trump's strange insistence on signing a memorandum of understanding with Iran on Sunday is a test for a negotiation team. An hour ago, Trump once again emphasized the memorandum of understanding with Iran will be signed on Sunday. This comes even as Iranian officials have explicitly stated that the agreement has not been finalized and will definitely not take place on Sunday. And again, they describe it as unusual assistance so that he can celebrate it on his birthday. Like, what are you, like a little baby Donald? Like, you need to celebrate it on your birthday? What are you talking about? And stop with this. Stop. You've made such a fool out of the United States with your behavior. The 38, 39 times going to be a deal. No one takes us seriously. The United States is viewed as like a clownish Trump organization entity that's a freaking failure. It's just sad to see this from our country. I digress. Donald Trump then posts after the deal is scheduled to be signed tomorrow, our relationship with Iran is a much different and better one than the previous administrations have had. Unlike Obama's hundreds of billions of dollars in payments to them, including $1.7 billion in green cold cash, no money will exchange hands. At the appropriate time, when all is calm, we will go in and get the nuclear dust buried deep under the powerful sunken granite mountains, thanks to our beautiful B-2 bombers and their brilliant pilots, and down blend and destroy it, whether in Iran or in the United States. Pause. That's definitely not part of any deal. Also, from what we know already, Iran's received billions of dollars funneled through the United Arab Emirates. That Qatar is going to be giving Iran billions of dollars being funneled so that Trump pretends that he's not making the payments, that there may be $300 billion given to Iran, but it's going to be framed as loans to the Middle East or a Middle East Development Fund, which is reparations to Iran. Iran's going to control the Strait of Hormuz. There's nothing about any negotiations involving Iran's nuclear weapons, which is referred to as the nuclear file, until 60 days. And so what are you talking about, Donald? I mean, none of you're again making up terms that aren't in the deal, at a time when this deal could easily fall apart and send the world into a global depression. Just stop posting, dude. Just chill out. Just go away. Seriously, man. Just go away and stay far away. Hopefully, Donald Trump then goes on to say, we look forward to working with Iran and the entire Middle East long into the future. Hopefully, this process will all work out quickly, easily, and smoothly. If it doesn't, we have the ultimate alternative, hopefully never to be used again. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. It's clearly a veiled threat at nuclear weapons, but it's like, what? You think that's a helpful negotiating strategy? You think that's a helpful way to close the deal? I mean, is your ego so fragile that you have to type that in a social media post to the world? There are so many Americans who are suffering right now who frankly need there to be a deal. Like, regardless of your incompetence, we're rooting for a deal because we need things to get more affordable. We need some relief because Americans are going bankrupt. People can't survive. People are psychologically tortured. You're psychologically torturing them. They can't afford rent. They can't afford anything right now. So I'm hoping and praying for a deal. Despite I despise Donald Trump, it makes me sad to know how much my fellow Americans and people of the world are suffering right now. And so you have Iran diagnosing this guy as clinically ill. And look at his last Oval Office thing before, what I want to call it, before this weekend, where he talks about, I turned off the lights, we took out nights, 25 ships. He's making stuff up. Here, play this clip.
We've been taking out ships, big ships, quietly at night. You guys didn't know that. Pretty cool, right? As a captain. He knows about more about ships than I do, but it's pretty cool. They turned off the lights. we bombed their radar and everything, so they couldn't see what was going on. And we took out some nights 25 ships, some nights 15. Last 4 or 5 nights we did 25, 22, 21, 26, 18, and 14. Who else would remember those numbers? Nobody.
And then he's claiming that the reason that a Republican in California, Steve Hilton, he was able to get to the next round with Javier Becerra and beat Tom Steyer is because Trump said it was rigged. I caught them rigging it. And so they saved Steve Hilton because I caught the rigging taking place. Dude, just like, we can't have folks. Iran is right. And I've been saying this over and over again. The guy is a psychopath. I'm not in a hyperbolic way. Like, oh, he's a psycho. No, he's actually psychotic. He's mentally ill, and it's getting worse. And he's exhibiting those same signs, in my opinion, that Fred did, which I believe to be, again, I'm giving you my opinion. It looks like what Fred had. Go Google it. Go look it up yourself. And here's what he says about Hilton. Let's play it.
I did it a little while ago and opened it up to them. Twice I've done it now, Peter, right?
Sure.
Peter Navarro, the great Peter Navarro. And I did it twice. I did it then, and then they had a rigged election, and I wasn't here. Totally rigged election, just like what was happening in California. You see what, they got the kid out, and then they were doing the same thing to Steve Hilton, and I started bringing it. They said, look, they said, it's going to take 2 more weeks. It was a week, and it was heading south. And I started saying it's a rigged election. And then they said it was going to take 2 weeks, 1 week, 2 weeks. And all of a sudden he was approved. You know why? Because the heat was on. He couldn't get away with it. If I didn't do it, I guarantee he wouldn't be the nominee. It's a rigged election.
Then he talks about he does electric boats. I don't even know what. I have no clue what he's even trying to articulate. Let's play it.
They didn't want you to disturb the fish that you weren't allowed to fish for. No, but think of it. These people are crazy. And the new thing they had was you had to have an electric boat, even though they didn't work. And even though once you got out there, you had a problem because you couldn't get back because they didn't charge long enough. These are problems that were mentioned to them, and they said, we don't care. You have to have an electric boat. And the other problem was the battery is much heavier, as you know. Yep. So the boat has a tendency to sink. And they were forced, by 2030 or so, you were forced to have an electric boat. I don't think you were too happy with that, right?
Not at all.
Anyway, but this is going to support millions and millions.
And then he has to attack former President Biden for, a Biden signature. I can really sign these documents. Biden can't. By the way, from what all the accounts are, this deal with Iran that's going to be signed is going to be a DocuSign. Folks, they're doing it via DocuSign, electronic signatures. You're doing an auto pen to sign this deal. Anyway, here's what he says. Let's play it.
No auto pen? I don't want an auto pen. Can you believe 94% signed by an auto pen? Can you believe that? I think it's higher than 94%. The only one that was definitely signed by him that we know of, you know what it was? It was his son. It was his son. His son, that was the only one. You could tell, you know why? Because his signature was horrible. She's a real beauty, that one. Okay.
Well, there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.